Okay. Welcome, everybody, once again to 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. Once again, I am not Mel, and I am not Smooth. Neither is my guy with me. I am Ken Straub, your newest member of the 216 Sports Network, joining you once again. And joining me once again, my brother Andrew Straub.
Nice to be on again.
Awesome. Glad to have you back. I'm checking my phone over here, bro. I think we're about to break some news. You want to break some news?
Let's do it.
So, Woj has not dropped this bomb yet, and neither has Shefty.
I don't think Fabricio's dropped this either, honestly.
No, and if you don't know who that is the European soccer version of Woj and that. Let's break it. Starting from this point forward, my brother, Andrew Straub, will be my permanent member of the podcast. Bro, I love you. I'm so happy you're joining. How do you feel?
I feel great. This is something I know we wanted to do for a while. As you can see, I got a haircut to congratulate myself on this amazing achievement. And I hope we can keep doing this.
Absolutely. This is absolutely a dream come true. And we hope to bring you guys some good content that you guys like. And we hope to do big things here on the 216 Sports Network. Okay. Before we get started, I do want to throw out the Cavs have started preseason. Check them out. And other than that, let's roll. So, first thing I want to do is I want to jump back to last week real quick, do a quick recap. U.S. soccer fans, I apologize. 2 very big L's on us, and we're going to take them and we will eat them. Number 1, I know his name is Chris Richards. I know it's not Chris Richardson. It's Anthony Richardson. Chris Richards, I apologize. Nerves got the best of me there, 100%. So we apologize there. And we basically went to the grocery store. We bought all the vegetables. We got all our seasoning. We got all our side dishes. And we left the chicken in the trunk. We forgot to talk about Christian Pulisic. I don't think there's anything we can throw in now that hasn't been said by every other pundit in the U.S. Soccer Federation and going on. So we do apologize for that. We'll do better. All right, bro. You ready to recap the college football weekend?
Yeah, a lot of stuff to get forward to. Let's do it.
All right. First, we got to do it. The U, Miami. Yes. So If you missed it, Miami was up with 33 seconds left in the game. So what did Miami do? Miami took a knee, ran the clock out. No. Miami ran the ball up the middle, fumbled. Georgia Tech recovers the fumble. And a 44-yard touchdown pass from Haynes King to Christian Leary, 23-20. Georgia Tech beats Miami. Drew, thoughts?
Obviously, that moment was something that none of us expected. But honestly, we had saw this the whole game. All the chances Miami had, they did not capitalize. They were 23 first downs towards Georgia Tech's 13. They had 453 yards versus Georgia Tech's 250. They had 11 minutes more of possession, and they were up 3-0 at halftime. So you obviously see that, they didn't capitalize on anything. They had 5 turnovers the whole game. So 4 before that calamity happened, which is bad in itself, but that 5th one was inexcusable.
100%. Now, I know, and not every college football team kneels. I know that sounds strange because if you only watch the NFL, you would think that's a crazy thought. Not every college football team kneels. There are teams that believe in running into no matter what. Notre Dame did it against Duke after they got the ball back after the fumble to win the game. They ran a play. So this does happen. And Mario Cristobal has owned it. I did not like his excuse after the game, but he has owned it throughout the week. It's a horrible play. What I think kind of gets left off because of how horrible the play was. Where is your prevent defense? How is there a Georgia Tech wide receiver running through your secondary wide open? There should have been at least 3 defenders on the goal line. That's it. So I think the defensive call was arguably just as bad and fireable as the decision not to kneel. Let's move on. USC and Arizona triple overtime. USC escapes 43-41. Caleb Williams and them boys, they survive. Drew.
Yeah, and I think it's survived is the perfect word because I don't think USC won this game. I think Arizona lost it. Arizona had 150 more yards and 11 more minutes of possession in this game. And I want to give credit to Arizona in the offensive sense because their quarterback, Noah Fifta, 300 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. Jacob Counting, their wide receiver, had 4 touchdowns, 88 yards. They looked really good offensively, and they just got let down later in the game.
Stats. It isn't just opinions, baby. We're bringing you the stats. A lot of that ball control was in the first half. Arizona was up, I think, 14-0 at one point. USC pulled it to 17-14 and a half. And I do, once again, common theme here. Horrible play call in the Miami game. I think a horrible defensive call. The triple overtime 2-point conversion call that USC ran. If you did not see it, it's worth going back and Googling it and YouTubing it, wherever you want to find it, Twittering it, X, whatever, finding it. Was horrific. Caleb Williams saved the play. They lined up half of the guys on the other side, some kind of swing gate play. There were like 2 offensive linemen and him. Thank goodness he's a phenomenal first 2-3 pick athlete, or that play would have been miserable. It would have gone to hell, and we would have been talking about how Arizona played Washington close and upset USC.
Yeah.
Texas, you made us both look like fools. Texas, I don't want to talk about you anymore. You're not back. I don't care. Yes, it was a close game. I understand that. But the whole thing about Texas is this mentality of Texas being back. Texas, if you're back, play defense with 30 seconds left or 45 seconds left. I'm sorry. Thoughts on the Texas-Oklahoma game?
Yeah. Honestly, I think, we've said enough about Texas because it really wasn't a game that, we had going in as Texas not being the favorites or even losing this game. We had them winning comfortably. But the fact that Oklahoma won and played a really great game really makes me see, is Oklahoma legit? They are 6-0. They have a top 10 win, and their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, really shows why he is no longer at UCF. 285 passing yards, 113 rushing yards, and a passing and rushing touchdown.
Save it.
Against a Texas defense that before this was giving up 13 points per game and only gave up 14 to Kansas the week before, who has a great offense. And so being able to do something like this 2 years after losing Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley, it's something that is really impressive. And I think we have to give them more credit.
100%. We will be talking about Oklahoma coming up, and that, kids, is called a teaser. Before we go into the Notre Dame game, I want to reach back real quick. Georgia Tech, before coming out and taking that Miami win, a very bad loss to Bowling Green last week, who will also be coming up next, or soon, I should say, and that, kids, is another teaser. So, Notre Dame, my Irish, I don't run, I don't hide, I'm still wearing my colors. 33-20, a loss to Louisville. 33-20 is not indicative of what that game was. Bullied and pushed around. The offensive line was manhandled. Too many big games in a row for the Irish. And I'm not making excuses, but I'm sorry. You got to schedule a Navy or an NC State in between those games. And I know they don't always get the choice. It's not like Coach Freeman could go in the middle of the season and go, all right, let's switch these games around. But it's tough for any team to go, quad 7:30 prime time under the light games and get out of there. You could tell in the first quarter that defense was tired.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like the biggest stat I can see, because everywhere else it was even. First downs, yardage, time of possession, basically pretty even. The running game. Louisville had 185 yards rushing. Notre Dame had 44. So obviously Louisville made it a point to stop the run, force Notre Dame to throw, and put the ball in Sam Hartman's hands. And as you can see, with 3 interceptions and 2 lost fumbles, maybe that isn't the right idea to go when you go to Notre Dame.
No, and I'll be honest, and I said this on the Sports Minute with Rico when we reviewed the game. Sam Hartman going into that game, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. Threw an interception on the first drive. Didn't really have time, was absolutely demolished on third down. Like you said, the running game cannot get going, and Louisville showed up. Shout out to them. Shout out to Coach Braun. Well done. All right, man. So one of the things we're going to be doing weekly, or however often we do this pod, which we will hope to be bringing you weekly, we're going to give ourselves some dap. Okay. 100%. One of the other things we're going to do is also smack ourselves upside the back of the head when we deserve it. But I'm going to start with the chest bumps. Okay. Our first chest bump, Coach Prime in Colorado. I told you they were going to get back. Told you they were coming back. They were going to get off with a win. They absolutely did. Looked good. Our second one, LSU. Yes, I survived on that one. Yes, there was a late pick six interception for them to win the game, but still, LSU. And my gamblers. I told you to sprinkle Ole Miss in your parlays. They came through for us. Our chest bumps. Our head slaps. We've already talked about them. Not only did you pick Texas, I put my money on Texas in the points and the points. My Irish ruined not one parlay, but two parlays. One a 7-teamer, one an 8-teamer. No biggie. Nothing serious. And your bad beat. Shout out to Scott Van Pelt. I told you Maryland would keep it close and keep it under 19.5. And for basically 3 quarters, not only was I right, I was spot on. I told you Maryland was not the same team that you're used to. I told you Lil Tua could do it. I told you they were good. And a late field goal. Shout out to my own mother who listening to the pod threw some Ohio State bits in and didn't listen to me. Thanks, Mom. Not a head slap, but a shout out. Tuesday night, Coastal Carolina and App State. Sorry, Mario Cristobal, you're not going to like this one either. Coastal Carolina driving to win the game. Running back CJ Beasley breaks open into the open field. Clear end zone. Clear route to a touchdown. Throws himself on the ground at the 1-yard line. Selfless play that we have seen countless guys in college and pros make. What did his coach do? Knelt the ball down and then kicked the game-winning field goal. Not saying Miami had to kick the field goal, but kneel the ball. Gonna give us a little bit of another head slap in the middle of the show, bro, because I forgot to throw the banner up. But we fixed it, so that does not count for next week. Okay? All right. Shout out to Mel. Shout out to Smooth. Shout out to the 4 to 15 podcast once again. Got us locked in. We're rolling. All right, bro. Let's hit our top 6. Okay, college football playoffs coming soon. The rankings will be coming out on their own soon. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to give you our own every week. And then when the committee decides to put their rankings out, we're going to probably drop a show every Wednesday to kind of run through what we think, what they did, and kind of how it compares. So our top 6, I'm going to throw mine out first. We need to give myself wrong side. Give myself a whiteboard. We gotta go bear style on College Game Day. Give myself a whiteboard. Check out for that next week.
It's on Fox now, though.
What?
Fair's on Fox now. They gotta pay attention to that.
I apologize. My bad. Why did I thought I saw Bear on College Game? Oh, that's not Bear. Head slap mid-show. My top 6. I have Georgia number 1. I have Michigan 2. I have Ohio State 3. I have Florida State at 4. My first 2 out, I have Oklahoma, Washington. Because I went more in depth, in my 7 and 8 spot, I have Penn State and Oregon respectively. Little bro, what you got?
Yeah, our first 3 are exactly the same. I got Georgia at 1. I got Michigan at 2. I got Ohio State at 3. Now, when we get to 4, that's where it gets a little different. I think I have Oklahoma at 4. I got Penn State at 5.
Controversial.
And I got Florida State at 6.
So we disagree. I like it. We can't just sit here and agree with each other the entire time. It would be no fun. All right, but let's do the easy part. Let's hit the teams that we do agree with. Let's start with number 1, Georgia. Georgia has played some close games. Okay, I understand everybody. But for me personally, and college football has been something that I have been in depth on for a long time. I didn't just walk in here 2 weeks ago and just wanted to tell you about college football. It's something that I love and I is really near and dear to me. Georgia's played some tough games. But when you look at the committee, and I try to base my rankings on what I think the committee will do, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not always a personal. It's what I think the correct ranking is and will be. Georgia has done nothing to lose the number one spot. Michigan is nipping at the heels, 100%. I don't think this is one of those, if there's only 10 votes, Georgia gets 10, Michigan gets 0. No, I think it's about 7-3, 6-4. I think this is a little bit closer. But for me, Georgia has not done anything to lose that number one spot. Do you agree?
I completely agree. And it was closer before this weekend, and I think that dominant win over Kentucky really sealed that spot.
100%. I want to point something out, though, about Georgia moving down the line that came up during that Kentucky game. So, well, first of all, Brock Bowers, 3 straight 100-yard games. That continued in the Kentucky game. Monster, Heisman candidate, first-round pick, all of the above. Check the boxes. Him coming later. Carson Beck, 3 straight 300-yard passing games. Getting rolling. Okay. But this is what I saw in the stat that popped up during the Kentucky game that I think is interesting and will rear its head later. Against the blitz, 200 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Non-blitz, 189 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Is that the perfect formula? Have we figured it out? Have we figured Georgia out? No. But man, when he's tearing it up and he's lighting it up against your blitz, maybe stop doing it. You know what
I agree.
Throwing that out there. And is the defense finally ready and back after some sloppy tackling performances earlier in the season? Anything else you want to throw in about Georgia?
No, I think we kind of hit everything. That defense is finally starting to get back to form. We saw the past couple years, and maybe the doubts that we thought about that would have on offense have kind of gone away because they really haven't shown us any bad things on offense.
I also want the SEC is not easy, man. It's not. It's a battle week in and week out. So Kirby Smart and them boys are going. Number 2, Michigan. Big Blue. Michigan is one of the most balanced teams in the country. Okay. Even with Jim Harbaugh being out for the first 4 games, it really has not showed. 30 or more points in 9 straight games, longest in school history. When I tell you about balance, I also mean about the defense. 0 snaps inside the 10-yard line. There have been no goal line situations against Michigan. And you want to talk about a defensive stat, and this is where I say they've closed the gap on Georgia. They're -1 on scoring in terms of defense. They have given up 4 touchdowns. They've scored 3 themselves. That is unreal. That is unreal. Now, has the competition been the greatest? No, but they're also blowing teams out by at least 25 points in every game. Bro, take over.
That's exactly what I was going to say. While they obviously haven't really played any really good teams like Georgia has yet, and really won't until week 10 against Penn State, you can only play what's in front of you, and they have absolutely dominated every team that's in front of them, giving up less than 7 points a game, and they are firing on all cylinders, and I don't see them losing anytime soon.
No, and I apologize for having to drink. I got home from work, so getting the energy going. Sorry. Good to point out, J.J. McCarthy, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Blake Corum, FBS leading 10 rushing touchdowns. Jim Harbaugh, did you see him go and celebrate and run and celebrate with the team on the touchdown interception? I don't care if you don't like Michigan. I know a lot of people listening to our podcast are from Ohio. They're not big Michigan people. I'm sorry, I don't care. What he is doing up there with Michigan, the guys have bought in. It's fun. They're wearing free Harbaugh t-shirts. They are all in. The same way Ryan Day has the Ohio against the world thing going, even though he wants to argue with an 88-year-old man, leave Lou Holtz alone. It's the same thing for me. They're rallying the teams, and I definitely think Michigan's there. It is good to point out, though, Michigan's upcoming schedule: Penn State away, Maryland away. We saw what that Maryland team did. The committee is big time going to look at what Michigan does against Maryland and compared to what Ohio State did. Mm-hmm. And you have Ohio State at home. Can they make it 3 in a row? You make it 3 in a row, Ohio State fans are going to be coming for Ryan Day.
I agree.
Okay, let's move on. 2, Ryan Day at Ohio State. When Ryan Day is not arguing with an 88-year-old man, yes, I'm sensitive. He's leading one of the best teams in the nation with what I think is, regardless of Heisman candidates, the most talented player in college football, Marvin Himison Jr., Harrison Jr. He is him. But, bro, what do you think about Ohio State?
Honestly, this is one that I was considering possibly dropping maybe to 4. Um, they had a real close call against a 10-man Notre Dame team. Gonna give a shot there. And
I
they
just I
really
deserve that. I deserve that.
and they really didn't impress a lot against Maryland until the fourth quarter.
No.
Um, the quarterback play is still really concerning to me. They're not really finding a groove. I feel like the wide receivers are bailing him out a lot. And unlike previous years with Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, there's no NFL caliber running back right now that's disguising that subpar quarterback play. And so you barely pass your first test in Notre Dame. You have a small scare against Maryland. You have Penn State in 2 weeks. So that's going to be a big game where I can see if they're real or not.
So I didn't actually ask you the question, so you answered it for me. That's why we're locked in here. I said, are Ohio State actually being overlooked? Or are we properly rating them with some of the criticism that we're lobbing to them? All I hear from Ohio State fans is how they don't believe in Kyle McCord, that they're not sure, that they're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Are we not sure if Kyle McCord is very good? Or is Kyle McCord just not CJ Stroud and Justin Fields?
Right.
If I think this was the same way with DJ Ugalele at Clemson, who's now playing elsewhere. When you follow Deshaun Watson, when you follow Trevor Lawrence, there's only down to go unless you are an NFL first round pick. When you had CJ Stroud, when you had Justin Fields, the only where to go is down unless you're a first round pick. It's fair to also point up he was Marvin Harrison Jr.'s quarterback at high school. That absolutely plays into it, but we're not sure. We're still unsure. I do want to point out, though, that the defense is playing better. Little Tua only ended the game with 196 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So the defense did turn it on. We have seen before with the Buckeyes that they kind of have those games at home where a team sticks around for way too long, and then all of a sudden you look up and they're up 20, not 19,
Right.
not 19. You're right though. Can the other guys step up? Stover, Egbuka, Fleming, who is questionable this week. The other thing I want to bring up about Marvin Harrison Jr., and this is not a shot at Ohio State. This is not a shot at him. How many more times is a guy who knows that he is a first round talent, a top 10, top 5 talent? I don't even want to say top 10. He's a top 5 talent. How many more times is that guy going to allow his own ankle to get rolled up on before he goes, you know what, coach? I got a bag coming, and it's not a little bag, okay? It wouldn't fit on any of these shelves, okay? So I'm just, it's something to look out for because if I'm Marvin Harrison and if I'm Marvin Harrison's dad, if I'm Marvin Harrison's people, I want you to win at Ohio State. I want you to make the college top final. I want you to make the final, but I want you to have a career. So something potentially to look out for in the future. Number 4, Florida State. 5-0 for the first time since 2015. Shout out to my fellow Notre Dame College classmate Al. He's a big Florida State fan. Give him a shout out. Mike Norvell is a good coach. Okay, it was not a clear signing when he went there that Florida State fans wanted him. There's even been questions this year about Dion. Coach Norvell deserves some credit. They've got a good win against LSU. They outlasted Clemson. Give me your thoughts on Florida State.
Yeah. And, I have them down at 6. Obviously, not as high as you, but I still think that they're a really good team. They had a great start of the year. They had some really good wins. It's just the past couple weeks have scared me. They had a 2-point win against a 3-3 Boston College team, and they had to go to overtime to beat a 4-2 Clemson team that got rolled by Duke.
I want to point out about the Boston College game, and I think it's fair to point out that was their red bandana game. Their they had a lacrosse player who went into the Twin Towers and saved people. He died during 9/11. They wear red bandana, so They beat Notre Dame in that first red bandana game. So that they show up for that game. So I could kind of understand it, but you're not wrong about your stuff. It's also good to point out Jordan Travis, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, absolutely balling, 63% completion percentage. Troy Benson has to help carry the load for them. You're right, absolutely played 2 close games against BC and Clemson, but Troy Benson exploded for 2 long touchdowns against Virginia, 1 for 85 and 1 for 65 yards. So that has to keep going. The problem for Florida State is what's coming up ahead for Florida State, like most of the teams in the top 6. Number 17, Duke, number 25, Miami, and Florida at the end of the year still left. Florida, last game of the year, will have probably plenty to either still spoil or play for. Then the ACC championship game. So Florida State is not out of this, and one injury away from this kind of going shaky for them as well. Number 5, my number 5, but your number 4, we're going to get them in right now. Oklahoma. Are they a one-hit wonder? Was Texas it? I don't know. But Brett Venables has this defense absolutely humming, leaving Clemson coming over. The Clemson defense could absolutely use Brett Venables. What do you think about Oklahoma?
I think honestly, all of us really we're underrating Oklahoma. They had a couple close wins initially, but they went into Texas, and maybe because it was a rivalry, but maybe not, they had a statement win in that game. That offense looks elite. That defense looks like it can slow down other top offenses. And I think if they keep winning like this and maybe a team above them slips up, they could jump even higher on my list.
I don't disagree with you. I'm going to steal some other stats that we were bringing up earlier. Dillon Gabriel, welcome to the Heisman party. 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 4th nationally in total offense. Okay. Lost his leading wide receiver, though. It's very, very important to point this out about Oklahoma. So that's in the Texas game. 23 for 38, 285 yards, 1 touchdown, 113 yards rushing, and a touchdown. Welcome to the Heisman candidate race. You are here. 100%. Oklahoma can absolutely make a run here if the Big Ten teams eat each other alive. If there's a Georgia slip up, if Florida State slips up, which a lot of people think they might, look out for Oklahoma. And a rematch with Texas looming in the Big 12 championship. A farewell song to the Red River rivalry in the Big 12, potentially at the end of the year. Anything else to add on Oklahoma, or you want to move on?
I think it's ready to move on. I'm just excited to see how high they can get.
100%. Washington. A sleeper for me. How you said Oklahoma was a sleeper. I got Washington as a sleeper. I think they're a bit underrated if they can get through this week. Michael Penix Jr., him. All him. Absolutely in the Heisman race. I actually think he is your Heisman leader right now. The way he's been playing has been absolutely amazing. FanDuel, plus 220 right now. He is your favorite. So money where your mouth is. The close game with Arizona doesn't look so bad now, does it?
Nope.
I know we're going to be critical of USC's defense, but it really doesn't. He is averaging 400 yards passing. That is unreal. What do you think about Washington?
I like Washington. As we'll touch on later, they are number 1 in total offense. And so the offense is there. I think you have a massive matchup this week where you'll really see who in the Pac-10 is legit other than USC. And that'll be a big moment. Washington, honestly, is a team that I really didn't see playing as well as they are, honestly. And it's one of the teams I'm really now it's starting to get my attention.
It's the same. That's why I called him a sleeper. You know what I mean? You're right, though. The defense, the run defense is in the hundreds. Mm-hmm. You got to run the ball and control the ball on Washington. However, they only have 48 third downs as an offense. 48 third downs. That's it. I think Notre Dame had more than that just against Louisville. Didn't convert any of them. Oregon this week. USC, Oregon State, Washington State ahead of them, then a Pac-12 championship. Let's get to your Final Four.
Yes.
Penn State, Nittany Lions, Andrew, make the case.
Yes. Now, very similar to Michigan, they really haven't played a lot of teams. However, there are two things that really put them ahead of, in my case, Florida State, Washington, and Oregon. One is a standout sophomore quarterback, Drew Allar. He's from Medina, same as Mitch Trubisky. Got to shout that out. And while maybe he hasn't hit his top yet, I think he is looking incredibly good and can lead that offense to great things.
The
However,
question. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Sure, of course you can.
When are they going to take the handcuffs off him? Are you going to do it in time?
Mhm.
Are you going to do it in time for Ohio State and Michigan? Go ahead.
And that's a very fair question that we'll see. However, the bigger thing that I like to see, their defense is scary.
Yes.
Scary. Less than 10 points per game they're giving up, 6 interceptions, 6 sacks a games, and 6 fumble recoveries. I didn't want to say 666, but it's looking scary over there.
Yeah, absolutely is. It's a fair criticism of Penn State. No top 40 opposition yet. However, Ohio State, Michigan still yet to play. And in terms of your top 4 candidacy, if Penn State goes through and they beat Michigan and Ohio State, Penn State's a top 4 team. That's 100%. It. You're in. Now, I know there'll be a Big Ten championship game. We would have some other things. But for me, why couldn't Penn State wiping out Michigan and Ohio State then going in and losing to one of those teams in the Big Ten championship? Don't tell me that's not as impressive as when Georgia would do it, or right, when Georgia or Alabama does it. I'll give all the credit to the SEC. I'm not an SEC hater, but if we're going to give that credit to there, when the other conferences are just as good, you absolutely have to give them just as much credit. So I definitely think they're good to point out of Penn State. Ready for Oregon? Ready for Oregon, our last team.
Sure.
Let's go to Oregon. Bo Nix, who I'm pretty sure has now been in college longer than Stetson Bennett.
Oh, my God.
Man. All good. Bo, keep going, Bo. Listen, college was fun.
Play another one.
He's been in college for 5 years, Bo. It's all right. He was on a 5-year program. It's all right. This Oregon offense is amazing. Just as Washington's is, but more Oregon's is a little bit more balanced. A great running game. Okay. What do you think about Oregon?
Honestly, Washington, while they're number 1 in total offense, Oregon is number 2. So they are right there in terms of offense. Obviously, like you said, more balanced. I think they're better defensively in terms of just, getting, yards thrown on them. And honestly, I consider them very, very similar to Washington in terms of play style, in terms of just how they go about it. And I think it's going to just be exciting to watch those two and see who really deserves to be ahead of the other.
Which is why the Washington-Oregon game is going to be an absolute amazing game. Teaser.
Oh, yeah.
Good to point out about Oregon. And as we do this, we're going to transition to our games of the week, where we're going to start with Oregon. Number 8, Oregon versus Washington. 3:30 p.m. Washington opens up as a -2.5 favorite as of last night. Those odds have been changing kind of all over the place. For me, this game is going to come down to which defense is going to play lights out. Which defense can make a turnover or make a stop late and get their offense the ball to either go up by 14, go up by 10, or make that game-winning drive. For Oregon, I think it's fair to point out that the only top offense that they've played this year, they gave up 30 points. And if they do survive this game, they have 3 of the top 12 offenses still to play, because they have obviously Washington, Washington State, Utah, USC, and Oregon all ranked, still left on their schedule. So, Drew, Oregon, Washington, what do you think about it?
It's by far, I think, the game of the week. You have 2 top 10 opponents, which honestly for me, I think is the first big test for both teams. Yeah, Oregon rolled Colorado, but I don't think Colorado's there yet. They're good. They have a great thing going. I don't think they're top 10 level yet. It's also a very familiar matchup. These teams have been the top of the Pac-12 for most of the 2010s and the 2020s. They play each other almost all, every year. Oregon in the past 10 games, 7-3 in this, 3 of the last 4. So Oregon obviously has the upper hand. But Washington won last year 37-34. So honestly, it's really up in the air. And while, Oregon has the more impressive strength of schedule, is rolling, I think it's too close to really call in that sense.
Yeah, it's a very close game. It's a track meet. Put your track spikes on because this is gonna go. You're absolutely right. Washington did win last year. Oregon looking for some revenge. Can Oregon get as up for this? Well, I don't think it's a question, but is Oregon going to get as up? And what is the pregame speech for this one? Just like it was for Colorado. I mean, for me, this is going to come down to Bo Nix, Bucky Irvin, Jordan James versus Michael Penix Jr. We know what it is.
Yes.
Point good. This is a great stat. Nix and Penix have combined for 3,458 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. This is why we have college football. This right here, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get into college football, tune in at 3:30 because this is it. Okay. Gamblers, I love the over. 67.5. Hammer it, put it in your parlays, lock it, taking it to the bank. Kenny the Greek, I'm here for you. I am actually Greek. I can say that. I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to say that. Like I said, which defense can get that turnover last or get that stop? I do want to point out Oregon is 5-0 against the spread this year. It was Washington -2.5. Field goal wins it for you. Oregon money line +125. I kind of like it. I really want to pick Washington. I think they're a sleeper. I like Michael Penix Jr., but I really like this Oregon team. Our next game, number 18, UCLA at number 15, Oregon State. I actually think this is going to not be one of the best games because even though UCLA is fresh off of ruining our upset special last week against Washington State, allowing under 65 yards per game, I really like this Oregon State team a whole lot. 449 total yards they're averaging. Clemson transfer, Mr. DJ. 5 touchdowns on the road against Cal last week. I'm talking too much. Drew, what do you think about Oregon State, UCLA?
Yeah, it's obviously one that I think is going to go under the radar just because you have some other games that are a little bit better. But both these teams, they're at 1 loss, but they are good football teams that when they get rolling are very hard to stop. UCLA, I think, has a major advantage when it comes defensively. They're number 3 in total yards given up, while Oregon State's number 38. So you can obviously see maybe UCLA's defense take over. But as we can see, Oregon State is the favorite. If we're looking at common opponents, they are pretty much even. Oregon State lost to Washington State in week 3. While UCLA beat Washington State last week. However, if we look at another way, UCLA lost to Utah, and then Oregon State beat them. So it is a very close game, and I think it'll come down to kind of very similar to what you said with the Oregon-Washington game. What defense is going to make a big play and shut down, honestly, a very, very good UCLA defense against a very upcoming Oregon State quarterback in DJ, the transfer from Clemson.
Horrible big brother move. I just let you stumble there. I didn't throw anything life preserver out there for you. You're all right.
It happens.
Gambling. I should have pointed out Oregon State -3.5 favorites. I like Oregon State -3.5, -185 on the money line. If you are interested in UCLA, +152, they will bring you some value. I like Oregon State in the points. I like it. I love it. Lock it. Teaser. That's coming later. Next game. So many teasers. I'm killing this. Now, if I don't get into any of them, I'm gonna be absolutely taking the task.
So many head slaps.
So many head slaps. Number 25, Miami, taking on number 12, North Carolina. North Carolina opened up -4. The bettors have brought this down to now -3.5. The money is coming in on Mario Cristobal and the U. Why? Because college kids are resilient and they love the rah-rah. Will Miami bounce back against North Carolina?
Honestly, I think this game is getting really underrated. I think this is going to be a great game. North Carolina, obviously, in terms of, not having the loss, having a dominant win over Syracuse, they look better on paper. However, if we look at the defensive stats for both teams, Miami is giving up 268 yards per game. North
Ooh.
Carolina is giving up 335. So you could obviously see that Miami team can come to play. And before that Georgia Tech loss, they were dominating. They had a 48-33 win against Texas A&M. And North Carolina, while they haven't really been tested, had to go to overtime to beat Appalachian State this season. So it might not be as clear-cut of a North Carolina win as some people are saying.
I 100% understand. Give some love to App State, though. There are no pushovers.
I know.
Drake May in North Carolina. This is going to be the key. And you brought up Miami's defense kind of not being great. 56% of Miami's the completions against Miami's defense go for first downs. Can the offensive line hold up so Drake May can pick apart this Miami defense? That's going to be one of the biggest things for me for there. 4 of the past 5 of these meetings have gone over. Over is 56.5. That started higher. That's come down. I still think I like the under on this. The professional money is coming in on Miami. People think they're going to rebound. I like them to rebound. Give me Miami plus 3.5. That's minus 105. Plus 158 on the money line. You can get some value here for Miami. Our last game of the week, homer pick. Number 10 USC takes on number 21 Notre Dame. Under the lights at Notre Dame. Notre Dame opened a minus 2.5 favorite. Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this game might have been a little bit more hype if both teams weren't coming off underwhelming performances. USC, getting the win, but not playing well against Arizona. Notre Dame obviously losing to Louisville. But I think this game comes down to 2 questions, and both are about the quarterbacks. Can Caleb Williams keep his Heisman campaign going and play like a first-round pick? And can Sam Hartman bounce back just in case he is needed? Let's say the running game isn't going. Can he bounce back and put a good performance in when he is asked to carry the team?
100% offensive line noted for Notre Dame. Step up this week. We need you. USC has over 40 points in all 6 wins. Notre Dame hasn't gotten over 21 since going for 42, 56, 41, and 41, 45, and 41, respectively. So since that Ohio State game, they have not gone over 21. Notre Dame's last stand of a brutal 4 games. We talked about that. Who is going to get their legs back quicker? Notre Dame from getting beat up by Louisville, or from USC from outlasting triple overtime against Arizona? I think that is definitely going to be, who takes this game. Notre Dame is 5-2 against the spread this year. Notre Dame is 5-2. If Notre Dame wins, they're going to cover. If they don't, they're not. Me, if this game was on the road, I would pick USC, but because this is at home, I think there might be some green jerseys being pulled out. Full disclosure, that is a brick that came out of Notre Dame Stadium from when they did the revamp. It is actually signed by the actual Rudy himself. That's a true story. That's an actual documentary. You can watch it. I think Notre Dame pulls this out. I like Notre Dame, and I like Notre Dame minus 2.5, and I like the over at 60.5.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on the home because in my personal opinion, I don't think Notre Dame at home is a big advantage as some people think it is anymore, at least. The last 8 losses for Notre Dame, 4 of them have been at home. And we can say that Notre Dame plays at home a lot because they don't have a conference schedule. We get that. However, I feel like the only way for Notre Dame to win this game is for them to shut down, not even shut down, but really slow down USC's offense. And kind of giving a little hint into further, it's really hard for me to see them doing that.
Hey, I understand. I swear it's not blind homerism. You will not find Notre Dame in the bet section. Okay, teaser, spoiler. No, not a teaser. Spoiler alert. They will not be there. Okay, let's move into our Ohio games. I want to give a quick shout out to our teams in Ohio this year or this week who are doing some things. Kent State versus Eastern Michigan, Toledo versus Ball State, Miami of Ohio versus Western Michigan, Akron, Central Michigan, Bowling Green versus Buffalo, Ohio versus Northern Illinois. Then we have my guy across from me, Iowa State, traveling into the Queen City, Cincinnati. Cincinnati open up minus 4.5-point favorites over Iowa State, who kept it close against Iowa, as always. Would have lost to Ohio, previously mentioned. Got rolling against Oklahoma State, but then had a 50-burger dropped off them by Oklahoma, who didn't come close to dropping that against the Bearcats. Can Rocco Betch and the Iowa State Cyclones perform against this Bearcat defense? Mr. Bearcat, take it away.
Now, unfortunately, I think both these teams are very similar in terms of how their seasons have played out. Both have pretty decent wins on their record, Oklahoma State and TCU in terms of Iowa State, while Pitt isn't the greatest victory. In hindsight, going away to a Pitt team at the time was good, but both had struggles. Like you said, Ohio, the loss with Iowa State in the 50-burger. For Cincinnati, there's a loss to Miami of Ohio, which is a rivalry that we almost always dominate. We had a streak broken there. We lost to Oklahoma, and there was a loss to BYU 2 weeks ago. A lot of these losses, actually all of these losses, are attributed to a very disjointed offense. The offense just can't get it going, and it leaves the defense, who is very, very impressive, really out to dry with bad field position and constantly getting short breaks. Emory Jones is really struggling with the deep ball, the quarterback, and it's really hard to stretch the defense when you can't get any of those deep balls to hit. Another big struggle is the red zone. In 21 trips to the red zone, they've only scored a touchdown 9 times. You can't do that. You can't be that inefficient, especially new to the Big 12. But there's reasons for hope. I'm not going to be all down in the dumps. Our defense is absolutely stellar. They held Oklahoma to 20 points. And obviously, as we've said, we are very high in Oklahoma now. While the offense is struggling to score, it has gained more yards than the opponent in 4 out of the 5 games they've played this season. They are 5th in average time of possession, and they have 220 rushing yards per game, which is 10th in all of college football and 3rd in the Big 12. So while the offense is struggling and not scoring, everything is there for a breakout. And I really feel that the bye week this past week is really going to be helpful, and I really hope it does help kind of get this Bearcats offense going, because everything else is there. It's just the offense scoring that's the problem.
I have nothing left to say. Nobody's going to talk the Bearcats better than this man right here.
I
You're
also want to put something in.
I'm a former Bearcat. Shout out to Bedford. Bearcats all around on the pod.
I want to put something in. I've been on X, formerly known as Twitter, and I follow a lot of Bearcats on there. I want to tell them all, it is year 1. It is game 6 in the Scott Satterfield era. Please relax. I get that he wasn't your first choice, and everyone from Louisville is clowning us for taking him off their hands. However, the offense is obviously not where we want to be. He came in late and had to get a bunch of transfers, really short term. Let's all just take a breath, let this play out, and I'm sure it's going to be just fine. If down the road it's not great, I'll come back and eat my words. But right now, let's just relax.
Reel it in, Bearcats. Reel it in. And you reel it in, Bearcat, taking over the pod, the official Bearcat pod. All right. Let's move on to our loves and our all yous. Now, I used to do this segment. I used to do a write-up before we started the pod where I would tell you teams that I love, bets that I love. I don't like to call them teams that I hate. These are college kids. I don't like to use that. But all you teams that are, I'm good. That's all you. So let's start with the loves. I love the big dogs this week. Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Florida State all take care of business. I don't necessarily like throwing their points in there. This is not the gambling portion. Just in general, I like all the big dogs this week. You like the big dogs this week?
Yes, I am fully for Georgia versus Vandy. That's almost a lock. Michigan versus Indiana, Penn State versus Massachusetts, and even Louisville against a 1-5 Pitt. I think all those are big, big locks.
We have a disagreement. Stay tuned for my point on Penn State. So I also let's get some money involved. Let's win something. Let's make our weekend right. Let's get to Sunday to the NFL games with a little change in our pocket. I like the Colorado money line on Friday. I like the start of your parlay. I know this doesn't make any sense. I don't always like to go overnight with my parlays one day into the next unless I really believe in something. I like to start fresh every day. Maybe that's why I didn't win this week. I like Colorado on Friday night. Throw them in there. Minus 420 on the money line. Sprinkle them into the beginning of your parlay. I also like the minus 11.5 against Stanford. I really think I do. This is a struggling Stanford team. Andrew Luck is not there anymore. I didn't know if you knew that.
Neither is McCaffrey.
Shout out to CMC. Absolutely bulldogging my Cowboys this week. I like Maryland in your parlay. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. Gonna bounce back. Absolutely this week. I like the minus 550 money line to throw it in. The minus 13.5 is it's friendly. It's teasable. But if you already have one built, I like Maryland. Sprinkle that in there. I already talked about it. That's my lock, by the way. Put Maryland in your parlays. I hope I didn't sound iffy on that. Lock it in. Put Maryland in there. I love the Oregon-Washington over of 67.5. I threw that out before. Get that in there as well. Oregon State minus 3.5. I told you I like this as well. Those are my two. The other thing I love, if you have already hit the pumpkin patch, carve your pumpkin this Saturday during the 12 o'clock window when all of the big teams are hitting. Your Georgias, your Michigans, your Alabamas, your Florida States. Freeze up your 3:30 window so you can watch some college football. Let's hit the all yous. All you, baby. Upsets. All you. I think it's a chalk week. I do have some upsets, but I don't think there's any big ones. I think it's major chalk this week as teams get ready for some other guys. What do you think this week? Who's your all yous?
Ooh, sorry to do this to you. My big one this week is Notre Dame. It's their fourth straight primetime game, and it could have been the travel or Louisville putting it on them last week, but they looked exhausted even the last game, and so I'm not sure about that. And going back on Louisville, while they have a potent offense, USC's offense is much more potent. They're third in yards per game, and I feel like that Notre Dame defense, while good, I don't think they're going to be able to hold them. The other thing that I have on Notre Dame, while it could have been just a 1 week thing, it's very possible that Notre Dame's offense might be figured out in terms of if you stuff the run and you don't allow them to get that going and you put it into Sam Hartman's hands, he's going to make mistakes. And that is going to be a big key, I think.
Hold on 1 second as I mute my brother so he can stop giving all these facts about how bad my team is currently playing. No, I agree. You are not wrong. One of my other all yous. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I just got one more. TCU. Now, this has been more of an all-season all-you, just due to the fact that the college football playoff effect, as I like to call it, has hit hard. All the players, the playmakers, their firepower went to the draft, and they have hit a wall the past 2 games with their losses, including 4 interceptions last game against Iowa State. That, in compacted with BYU for 2 games against Cincinnati and Arkansas, while getting outgained in the yardage, has won. I think BYU definitely has the potential, and I believe will maybe be outgained, but will end up winning that game.
Teaser, folks. Teaser. I love the TSU point. It was one of my biggest, and once again, this is a pro Dion pod. There's no Dion hate here, so you're not bringing it here. But it was a fair criticism when they rolled out this promo about how they beat TCU, who was a college football team. That was not the team that played in the college football playoffs. It wasn't even close. No disrespect. They still took care of business. Colorado did, but absolutely. Penn State's points, all you. This is an absolute trap game. Minus 41 and a half. I understand UMass is not a good team. No, thank you. Want none of it. Want no part of it. Penn State's going to need to put. I'm sorry. I'm not putting money on Penn State to blow out a team by 42 or 45 points. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. My bad. Number 19, Tennessee, taking on Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo can't really have 4 or 5 losses at the end of the year, can he? Can he? Still has South Carolina, still has Ole Miss, still has LSU on the schedule. He can't lose all of these games. So Tennessee, I think you might be on upset alert. I think Texas A&M can keep it close. If not, I don't know if Jimbo Fisher's going to be coaching at Texas A&M. There's a certain running back who plays for the Miami Dolphins who, after you watching him play in the NFL, kind of puts Jimbo under a bigger indictment of how this kid wasn't even better. My biggest all you, if you don't have a pumpkin in your house and you're going to the pumpkin patch this weekend, I'm sorry. All you. I took care of that last weekend.
Same here.
All right. Any more?
No, I think we wrapped it up.
Okay, let's move on. Well, I'm going to wrap things up on the betting section a little bit too. I definitely want to point out some things here. Get us ready. So I mentioned in our locks, I love Maryland, love sprinkling them in, love the Oregon State Washington over, and I love Oregon State minus 3.5. Here is my parlay. I put money on this. I have Colorado in the money line. I have that over on Washington, Oregon. I put my Maryland sprinkle on top. I put Oregon State's minus 3.5 in there. That's plus 445 on FanDuel, plus 425 on Bet365, whatever platform you prefer. I've got money in Bet365, so that's what I'm using. You want to supersize it? You want to take it up? You want to big it up? Sprinkle in your big dogs. Your Alabama, your Florida State. I love throwing Louisville in there too. Supersize it. I've got that small parlay. I've also got a 10-teamer going because I sprinkled in some of the big guys. I 100% get it if you want to do it. Upset specials. Bowling Green over Buffalo. Bowling Green with a big game last week against Georgia Tech. I 100% believe they pull this out. Plus 170 on the money line, plus 4.5 if you want the points. Put it on Bowling Green. Go Ohio teams. My other one, we've already been teasing it. BYU over TCU. I love it. Lock it in. That is plus 185. 6 on the points. Win by a touchdown. Little tougher. I don't care. I like it. Lock them both in. Absolutely amazing. I've got a little bit on each of them. Full disclosure. Didn't put them together. Didn't put them in my big parlays, but I believe in my upsets. I put my money on them. They're good to go there. Drew, you want to add in anything on the betting? No, you don't.
I'm not a big betting man, but I like all those, honestly.
That's all right. You're in college. You don't need to be betting. You put that money away. You pay your tuition. All right. Now that we're done on the betting side and now that we're done on the NCAA football, we're going to switch over. We're going to do a little bit of soccer. All right. We're always going to bring you college football. We're always going to bring you some football. We're just going to bring you NBA and MLB. But we want to jump back over into soccer. We're passionate about it. We love it. We want to bring this game to you. So, Drew, let's do a little quick recap of last weekend's EPL. Of course, international break coming up this week. International break is for everyone. We have the Euros going on, or I'm sorry, the Euro qualification going on. We've got some World Cup qualifying going on. And in between then, we've also got some friendlies going on. But let's hit the English Premier League first. Tottenham Hotspurs sitting atop of the table at the first international, I'm sorry, not the first international break, but at international break. Drew, are Spurs not Spurs?
You know, I have seen this story too many times to count, that it's one of those things where I'm going to have to see it to believe it. This was obviously they beat a team that's, very low in the table this week, as they should have, but I can't say that they are not spursing it up as a lot of people would say. If people don't know, Tottenham are very big chokers when it comes to big games. And so
You could
while they're
argue,
playing well,
they're Notre Dame like sometimes.
in a sense, yeah. So while they're playing well and they are on fire, I can't give them any future indictments just because I've seen this story too many times.
100% agree. Tied at the top of the table with Arsenal with 20 points. Neither have lost yet. Spurs, led by James Madison, Richarlison, and most importantly, Heung-min Son. I don't think Spurs has enough coming off the bench to continue this run. It's a great story. It really is. A shout out to them. Big Ange has them playing very, very, very well. But I don't know. I'm sorry. This is kind of the same as some other stuff. I'm gonna need to see Spurs do it before I'm gonna believe in Spurs. I'm sorry. Do you believe Spurs will be top of the table when we sit down to have our January transfer window discussion?
By top, we
I put
mean
you on the
one.
spot. I know.
No, you're good. By top, you mean one. I would say no. If we're talking top four, maybe close to the top, maybe like a game, like a couple points out, I would say yeah. But if we're talking top of the table, I think I agree with you. They just don't have the depth. And I think that Ange being their manager, being in a brand new thing, I don't think he has the ability to sustain this for very much longer.
Right. I don't think it's because anyone is a bad player. I don't think it's because Big Ange isn't a good coach. I don't think Tottenham are going to have the reinforcements. And we've already seen how they spend. They're not going to go into the January transfer window and spend a bunch of money. Full disclosure for everybody, a little insight in football, soccer. There are transfer windows that open up during the summer, beginning of the season, and then during January. Those are the windows in which you can buy players, you can sell players, things of that nature. Arsenal 1-0 over Manchester City. Mikel Arteta gets one back on Pep Guardiola. An ugly game, but Mikel Arteta and Arsenal deserve all the credit. Big substitutions in the second half. Martinelli coming on and scoring the goal, and the other three substitutes all being part of the build up to the goal. A shot going in off of Nathan Ake. Arsenal win 1-0.
Yeah. I think the first 20 minutes, it was all Man City, and you could have very seen this, go 2-0, 3-0 City's way initially. But then you look up and it's 25th minute, and it's still 0-0. And then Arsenal finally start to play into the game. They start playing well. Like you said, those subs came on and played really well. And this is probably one of the most impressive wins from Arsenal this season, just
Yes,
by being able to, counter Pep's Manchester City team and really beat them at their own game in a sense.
100%. My first one of the pod. um, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal deserve the credit here. This game at the end of last campaign is why Arsenal did not win the title. They blew this game, and it was downhill from after that and from there. Absolutely right. The same reason Arsenal won this game are why Spurs are not going to remain at the top of the table. The subs won the game. I don't believe Spurs have that, but that's about Spurs. I think it's very fair to give some credit to Declan Rice, $100 million signing this year for Arsenal. Not because he played in his traditional six role, his defensive holding role. He moved up this week. He played in a more advanced role. It was helpful. He showed out. He played well, and it definitely helped improve Arsenal, and it definitely helped them. Manchester City, back-to-back defeats. International break coming up for them. Be scared whoever has them coming up after the break. Oh, who has them coming up soon after the break? My United. They are going to come back flying. But it's also fair to point out Rodri is still a big miss for Manchester City. Him not being there is big. But you also have to give credit to Arsenal. William Saliba went toe to toe when Erling Haaland beasted him around, didn't let him get on the ball, didn't let him have his touches, which is fair to point out is still scary with Aaron Haaland. He only averages 25 touches a game, and he scores on every fourth touch. The man doesn't need touches to score, and Arsenal kept him contained.
Yeah. I feel like we ask this question every year in the sense of, is there going to be actual competition for Manchester City? But I feel like, yeah.
True. Is there a title race? Do we have a title race?
This might be the first title race since Liverpool won it. But like we saw last year, Arsenal was running away with it. We thought that was the year that finally City would have it, and then Arsenal just went completely down and just could not sustain it. And that's the thing about Manchester City Pep Guardiola teams. They are consistent through the entire year. And so this might be the biggest challenge, but I still have Manchester City as favorites just due to recent history and Arsenal and Tottenham previously showing us that they cannot last the entire season with this kind of level.
Everything you said is right. I don't care. I'm living in the moment. We have a title race. This is absolutely in. This is going to last all year. However, we're going to look back in 3 weeks, and Manchester City is going to come out of the international break and win 6 of 7 or something. An amazing run that only the likes of them could pull off, and they'll be 10 points clear by Christmas. Something ridiculous, because that's just what they do. All right, let's move around the Premier League. Couple other scores to touch on. Fulham and Sheffield. Anton Robinson, American's own, an own goal, but Fulham still pull it out. Drew, thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it was a solid game for Fulham other than the own goal. Putting that into context, though,
The own goal game. I'm sorry, I apologize. The own goal game. That's what we'll call the Sheffield United Fulham game with 2 own goals in the game.
Yeah, putting that into context, Anthony Robinson left off the national squad for preventing a hernia injury, but played the 90 full minutes for Fulham. So I'm kind of questioning what's going on there.
Not 45. Not coming off and playing the last half hour or 15 minutes. A full 90. And Drew is referencing our first podcast where we broke down the United States men's national team roster against the upcoming games this weekend against Germany and Ghana. Check that out. We talked about that. Anton Robinson, what's going on there? Yeah, that's a strange one. Just another one of Greg's strange call-ups and non-call-ups. Although we don't, however, we also don't know what information Fulham gave him. Maybe they may have portrayed this injury to be a little bit stronger because they did want him to be able to play. But yeah, there is that. Liverpool 2, Brighton 2. A Mo Salah double, not enough. Luis Dunk with a 78th minute equalizer brings Liverpool into the Champions League race. Andrew, your thoughts?
Where are the shouts for the replay in this week, huh? Can we replay the match this week because it wasn't called? Like, can we do that now?
No.
Right?
No.
Okay. Just me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Liverpool fans are not going to like us for that one, but hey, I mean, listen, we've all been unjustly done by VAR. And I don't disagree, and we will touch on that here in a second. But I get it. But at some point, let it go and go on and move on and win your next games. West Ham versus Newcastle. Thoughts?
Yeah, 2-2, a draw. Newcastle is currently sitting 8th at the table. A lot of people were expecting a lot from them. However, not on this podcast, but before, I was very concerned with how they were going to adapt to playing European football, playing in the Champions League. And honestly, as I expected, they are not, playing well because they have to play 2 times a week instead of 1, or maybe, something like that. And so we are going to see what this team really can do now that they're in a very tough group in the Champions League and still have to play week to week in a very tough Premier League team or Premier League league.
100%. Full disclosure. So last week, Newcastle went out, beat PSG in the Champions League. If you have Paramount Plus, go into the sports section, find the Champions League, Go to replays and replay the Champions League game between Newcastle and PSG if you want to know why me and this guy here love football and love soccer so much. Absolute scenes, goosebumps all around. Newcastle has not been back into the Champions League for many years. You could absolutely see the crowd lifting them. You could absolutely see the way they played for them and the way they played through them. And then you absolutely saw the letdown at the weekend. So you see how much it takes a toll on people. But please go back and watch it. Absolutely beautiful scenes, the tifos, everything. It's just amazing. All right, bro. We got to do. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we can't skip West Ham because I got to throw you under the bus real quick. James Ward-Prowse playing absolutely great for West Ham. Edson Alvarez as well. The money that they got from Declan Rice, that sale to Arsenal, they've pumped it back into the team. And West Ham playing well, 7th in the table, trying to fight for Europe.
Yeah, I think this was perfectly done. We knew Declan Rice was going to go to somebody sooner rather than later. He wanted to go. He wanted to go to a top team. We thought that it was Chelsea for the longest time. Manchester United had asked about him. He ended up going to Arsenal, and West Ham had spent this money perfectly. They rebolstered that midfield so it wasn't just Declan Rice, and they are playing so well. They are a completely different team than what they were last year.
Yeah, apparently United were thrown off by the $100 million price tag, which was then paid anyways. Speaking of which, Manchester United 2, Brentford 1. Substitute and local boy, well, not local boy, but local homegrown boy, Scotty, as I call him, the body McTominay. Scott McTominay with a double in the 93rd and 97th minute to absolutely rescue me and my Manchester United from the brink of defeat. 10th in the table, injuries galore. Thoughts on the United game before I go on a rant?
Yeah. Honestly, this going into extra time, this looked exactly like a United game that we've seen 1,000 times. They dominate possession, they dominate shots on goal, but they just can't get it. And one goal just completely undoes them. Maybe this turns it around and this gives them the spark. But honestly, it's looking very bleak because it seems like other than this result, it's the same results over and over and over again with no sign of any type of fixing going on.
Yeah. Yeah. As you see, it's not been a good week for any of my teams, even though we won. The problems continue at United for my squad and manager Eric Ten Hag. The injuries, I think, are very fair to bring up. Luke Shaw, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Malacia, Martinez, Varane, all missing. Regulon, Cobbs, Dalio, all hurt. These are guys who play. These guys are a part of the starting 11 or at least the bench. They're not playing. They're banged up. We've been playing Safin Amrabat at left back because we have no choice when he's a center holding midfielder. But there has been some signs of some sparks. Amrabat, as I said, Rasmus Holland, absolutely flying in his beginning of his United career. I absolutely love the strength and the pace. And what I love about him the most is, and it's something we always are typically critical of our American strikers for, and is the exact opposite of also or his compatriot and fellow Manchester United striker Anthony Martial. Anthony Martial passes the ball for you to pass him back the ball. Rasmus Holland passes the ball and holds up the ball so the team can then move up with the ball. There is a huge difference. I absolutely love the way he's playing. Can Marcus Rashford and Mason Mount get in the back into form? And after letting David De Gea go, can Andre Onana find some kind of form? Anything, please? Please? Like the last time I was this scared of a goalie was when I lost you as my goalie when I was your coach for our travel team. That's the last time I've been this scared to replace a goalie, or that's the last time I've been this scared of a replacement goalie. Shout out to your replacement, Dom, who ended up being very good. But still, this is a scary, shaky start for United right now. And if this continues, I'm not sure. I think the problem is right now, all of the other coaches, Mikel Arteta, and you see what's going on at Liverpool, how it started when Pep took over City. Eric Ten Hag still needs time. He still has not revamped this roster completely and this team's sheet to how it goes. It's also fair to point out three of our most talented young players, Mason Greenwood, loaned to Getafe, will not be back with the squad probably ever again or with the team, but was a very talented footballer. Anthony, another issue, sent away to train, has been coming back, but has been underperforming since he has come over from Ajax. And then it's also fair to point out the Jordan Sancho row. Um, you know, a little bit behind the scenes, Jordan Sancho was showing up late to training so often that the coach set up a special committee that was supposed to go and wake him up. He still was late to training, not showing up well. The coach called him out for it, and the player threw a pity party and is now partying all over the world and training with the U21s rather than being part of the first team squad. Sorry. Yeah, pretty much. So that's how I feel on United. 10th in the table, sitting right underneath Manchester United. Your Chelsea FC. Talk about your Blues.
Yeah, it was looking bleak for a while. It seemed like the same issues were coming up in the beginning of the season. Just could not score, would have so much possession. But as of late, in 3 in a row, 2 in the league, we've turned it around. We're finally seeing the results of all the spending we're doing, which obviously some teams don't like, but I mean, I understand. But I think Pochettino, my manager, is doing an amazing job at getting all these so young players to play up to their potential. And when you have a team like that that also is missing a lot of their key players due to injury, Wesley Fofana, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, Christopher Nkunku, who is supposed to be our top striker that hasn't played a game, to see finally getting some results and getting wins after being so miserable at the end of last year. It's so refreshing to see a team that is finally playing cohesively after just so long of being broken.
We love college football. We love soccer. You will never see us talk more passionately than you will see us talk about Manchester United and Chelsea, especially when they're not performing well. So congratulations to you for starting to climb back up the table there.
I will say so our next 8 games, this will be the real big test. We have not in order, well, in order, but not back to back. Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester City, Newcastle, Brighton, and Manchester United in a span of 8 games. And so that'll be the real big test to see how far we have actually come from being 11th in the table last year, finishing.
And those are all the top teams in England. Manchester United versus Chelsea live pod, potential pre-pod.
Potential.
We'll have to talk about that. We'll keep that going. Okay, so that finishes up our little EPL review. Like I said, we do have some South American World Cup qualifying.
Yes.
Argentina and Paraguay, Brazil versus Venezuela. That goes on tonight. Those games start about 7, 8 o'clock. And we have some Euro qualifying as well, starting today, going into all this weekend. Nations League. We will start to find out who the opponents are going in for the Nations League this weekend. And also a special thing. I want to start this every week. It is going to be a big thing for my brother over here, who probably has the most awesome Excel spreadsheet I've ever seen in my entire life. Throw it up, zip up the coat. Americans abroad. Andrew Straub, give us the lowdown on our Americans all around Europe.
Yes. Obviously, we know that a lot of the Americans are coming in for the international break, going to go play Germany and Ghana. And honestly, this was one of the best weeks of the season for Americans, and having it come right before we play on the international break is amazing. To start off, the man, unfortunately, that we missed last week, Christian Pulisic, came out at halftime, scored a late game winner, and continues to be absolutely on fire at Milan, playing so well. And the man who assisted it, Yunus Musa, played another 90 minutes for Milan and continues to get all the praise from the Milan press and the coaching staff.
I want to point out, we mentioned Musa was playing more. We got to give love to Captain America. If you ever notice, Christian Pulisic has a tiger tattooed on his arm. When he scores a goal, he puts the eyes up. Eye of the tiger, baby. He is him.
Yes.
Love to see those two playing well. Keep it rolling.
Yes. Fuller and Balogun got another goal at Monaco. That's now 2 goals in 2 games. The other man that had a goal, which is some good news, bad news, is Malik Tillman. The good news, obviously, he scored a goal. The bad news is in the same game, he got injured. Unfortunately, he will be out 2 weeks, means he will be missing both friendlies. He is getting replaced by Alejandro Zendejas. He is a winger from the Mexican club America. He had a goal earlier in the week, and we hope to see him perform well because he did not perform well the last time he was with the U.S.
Absolutely. Controversial call up. Probably somebody who would not have sniffed a call up. Had there not have been an injury. Obviously, he wasn't there. Zendejas has not performed. This is not an unfair criticism. He has not performed when he's been called up to the men's national team. I would love to see him put in a good performance and keep that confidence rolling, because you also saw that he lost his confidence up with the national team. He went back down to his club team and he had struggled. Hopefully with this good run of form, he comes in and he can keep rolling as well as you keep rolling.
Yes. In other news, Luca De La Torre got an assist and a solid performance in a draw with Celta de Vigo. He's been a consistent starter there, playing really well. Joe Scally came on as a sub for Mönchengladbach and scored an absolute thunderbolt. We talked about it last pod to save the draw. Played really well when he came on. And one of the other ones I want to mention before we talk about it, Gio Reyna, first appearance since the Nations League in June. He played 26 minutes in Dortmund's win, and he is called up for the national team. Obviously, might be on minutes restriction for the national team to stay healthy, but it's good to just see him playing, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just as such a talented kid, I think Gio should just be on minutes restriction anytime he comes anywhere near a pitch right now. I'm sorry, that is just what it is. But yeah, come on, Gio, stay healthy and put in some good performances. Absolutely. Any more?
Yes, which is, like I said, we were playing great this week. Brian Reynolds, an assist for Westerlo in the Belgian league. That's what I was thinking of, in a win. And one that is not a goal or an assist, but a good thing to notice. Weston McKennie and Tim Weah, they both played 90 minutes and they weren't in the same position. They moved Weston McKennie to the midfield. They kept Weah on the wing, and they both played a full 90 minutes and played well. And I'm really hoping that they are going to stay like that moving forward.
That is a pullback from the first part where we talked about one of the, not a frustrating thing. They're both playing at a top club in Juventus, but they were splitting minutes in positions, and they were splitting that time. Good to see them move. They're both really talented. We want to see them getting the 75, the 80 plus minutes, 90, but obviously, guys come off. But yeah, we want to see those consistent big time minutes.
Yes. So I have 3 more people really quick.
Yes.
Gabriel Sonina, the 19-year-old at Chelsea, loaned out to a Belgian team, 9 saves in a loss. But he's getting plenty of experience, getting plenty of reps. That's what we're hoping for him right now because he's so young. Matt Turner, 3 saves and a clean sheet with Nottingham Forest against Crystal Palace. And Austin Trusty, his first start for Sheffield United, went a full 90 minutes.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Big Premier League minutes, big minutes in Serie A. That's the Italian league.
And one big thing to note, I listed out 13 players in that little thing. 10 of those players were called up to the national team and are consistent national team players. So seeing all of those guys in great form is something great to see.
Absolutely. 100%. I'll throw an in there too, just to check out all the boxes from last week. Okay. So also want to jump around some other things in the footballing soccer world. Manchester United legend Wayne Rooney has been hired by championship side Birmingham City. They currently sit 6th on 18 points. Last playoff spot in the lower divisions of England. The top 1 or 2 teams will be promoted automatically. The other couple of teams underneath that will go into playoffs. They'll play against each other, with the eventual winner gaining that last promotion side. Wayne
Who says
Rooney.
European teams don't have playoffs?
Hey, Wayne Rooney in at Birmingham City. Not just Wayne Rooney from Manchester United. Manchester United legend Wayne Rooney brought along a Chelsea legend on the staff, I heard.
Yes. Ashley Cole, former left back for Chelsea when we won the Champions League in 2012, will be joining as an assistant role. Obviously, that means that Birmingham is our favorite championship side now,
Without a
obviously.
doubt.
But it's very interesting to see the hire Wayne Rooney, as he didn't really perform well as a manager in DC United. And so maybe a go back to England where, it'd be more comfortable and easier to settle in. Maybe he'll have a better shot at being successful there.
100%. It was also, it's tough. He played for DC United, transferred into that coaching role at some point. I definitely think that can sometimes be a difficult to sometimes kind of manage guys that you were literally playing with not that long ago. I also want to point out that also former Manchester United legend, and that's what I was looking up, John O'Shea, also joining the coaching staff there for Wayne Rooney. So that is awesome. We will be keeping an eye on that. I am reaching for the box right here, the tissues. Ladies and gentlemen,
I need it.
Chelsea legend Eden Hazard has hung up the boots. Andrew, all yours.
This is going to be tough. As we've said, I'm a Chelsea fan. I have been since I was about 8 years old. Ken can fact check me there. But I never really properly started following the team until I was about 11, about around there. And coincidentally, that was the same time Eden Hazard joined Chelsea with a very infamous tweet reading, "I'm signing for the Champions League winner." What came after that was nothing short of brilliance. He became one of the best players in the Premier League, and for a short stint for a couple years there, one of the best players in the world. In 352 games at Chelsea, he scored 110 goals, 92 assists, and countless moments of just pure quality where he seemed to dribble through entire teams. Obviously, he doesn't get the same notoriety as a Messi, Ronaldo, or maybe even a Neymar, but in his prime, he was one of the most dangerous players to ever touch the field. Around 2019, Real Madrid came a knockin', and it was a bittersweet moment where we knew he was leaving. We thanked him for everything he had. He won countless trophies with us, including a Europa League trophy. And he left, and we wish him nothing but the best. Unfortunately,
and some Champions League and league titles.
Yes. Oh, he absolutely amazing.
Also worth pointing out, when Real Madrid come knocking, most footballers never say no. David Beckham from Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo from Manchester United, Eden Hazard, Gundogan from
Bale.
Gareth Bale. When Real Madrid call, you go.
Yes. Unfortunately, that appearance there really never turned out well. Whether it's due to the lack of training that a lot of his ex-Chelsea teammates said that he did or he didn't do, or maybe just pure unluck, a lot of injuries started to pile up, and it was year after year of a game or two, and then something happened where he was out the rest of the year. And at the end of this year, Real Madrid let him go, and as of this Tuesday, he announced that he was retiring. The end of his career. Go on.
Worth pointing out, a phenomenal talent. I know the average person only knows Messi and Ronaldo. A phenomenal talent, right up there with his contemporaries, with the Zlatans and people like that. An absolute phenom. Notorious for not being a player who trains or trained hard or trained well or put in a lot of work in the gym and as he got older, the injuries caught on, and when you don't have that fitness and you're not training and you get hurt and you can't recover, that happens. I don't want to get on Eden a little too much, but go ahead, bro, finish up.
Yeah, the end of his career will always be known as the failed move, where it was a big what if, and how good he would have done if he had stayed healthy. But the streets will never forget the man that made every defender in the Premier League lose sleep if he was playing them the next day. They had them quaking in their boots. I vividly remember the Arsenal run where he picks up the ball from half field. He starts to make a run. A defender tries to get him. He shakes him off, spins him to fall. He runs all the way, chops his feet, goes through and scores. One of the best goals I've ever seen. And I will never forget that. Thank you, Eden, for everything you gave me and, making me love Chelsea even more than I already did and enjoy a much deserved retirement.
Absolutely. Congratulations in retirement, Eden. In terms of, players that you've had that I have been scared of, number one on that list will always be Didier Drogba. Number 2 and 3, I think Hazard has a claim. Just terrifying when you saw him coming out and when you saw him pick up the ball, get 3 guys there, take him down, do whatever you have. So good luck in retirement, Eden. Quickly, we're going to shift over to America's other team, America's favorite soccer team, and that is Wrexham. If you follow Wrexham, the Ryan Reynolds led, yes, the excitement. He didn't know this was coming, but he knew it was coming. The Wrexham playing in League 2 in England. If you've watched Welcome to Wrexham, if you've seen the documentary, what Ryan Reynolds is doing there, it is absolutely amazing. They are currently 7th in League 2. They finally made it into professional football in England. They currently sit 8th. I'm sorry, they're 7th, tied in 8th with Crawley Town for the last playoff spot. Their striker, Paul Mullen, back from injury, was injured, punctured a lung actually in a preseason game against Manchester United. Random, not trying to continually plug Manchester United, but he's come back in form, a double in a 3-3 draw. Put on standby for the Wales national team. He's an uncapped player. Hasn't made it, come on, get him in there. Come on, get him in there. Wrexham, our favorite group squad. Good luck to them. Hopefully they can continue. Any last things to throw in there before we wrap this up?
I mean, I think we've hit it all. I can't wait to watch some college football this weekend. I can't wait to watch some U.S. Soccer this weekend. It's going to be fun.
Oh, you are absolutely correct about that. Want to wrap things up real quick. First of all, bro, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad that you're now a part of this podcast. And it's super, super heartwarming that I now get to sit and do this with you when what we do is we talk about sports all the time and we collaborate, we go back and forth, all of that kind of stuff. So that is amazing. And we will continue. There is a name to be determined. It is coming. We're going to put our heads together. We're going to kind of get some things down. When we get that name locked up, it'll be coming to you from then. But that is something to definitely look out for. We're going to continue to do this college football thing heavy. We're going to continue to bring you soccer in it as well. We're going to kind of shovel that in all the time at you at the end. We're going to do our US pods, NBA preseason starting. So we're definitely going to do a little NBA and definitely a Cavs preview. Hockey is picking up steam, the MLB playoffs, which I will be talking about them with Rico on the Sports Minute. But coming up this weekend on the 216 Sports Network, we have some big stuff coming. Garfield Heights Youth Football Championship. That will be 1:00 Sunday on the 216 Sports Network YouTube page. Tune in live for that at 2:00 at Baldwin Wallace Stadium in Berea. The Howard Huskies take on the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets. I and Mel will be there doing commentary. This man will be there with me as well. Stop in and see us. Come and watch a good game. Come in, see it, see some football. I know it's Sunday. I know there's other games on. Stop in. If not, put us on the YouTube channel. Put us on the other TV. Tune in. Catch some good football there. Also, that's at 2 p.m. on the 216 Sports Network. Wanted to make sure I get that out there. And also, lastly, check out the Six Stars as they take on the West Side Lightning at 6 p.m. Also on the 216 Sports Network. I am Ken Straub. I don't know if I threw that in. I think I forgot 2 weeks in a row to say my own name. Hopefully I didn't. I am Ken Straub. That is Andrew Straub. We thank you so much for joining us. And once again, as always, love your